Okay, it's Mr. Serrano again with the ACT prep. I'm going to move a little bit faster, kind of like in a shortcut kind of way, because there's so many questions and so little time to review. Remember, you do not need to answer all questions, meaning answer correctly all questions. Do answer all questions. And you do not need a perfect score. So grab what is easy from this video, and at some point after question 35, probably you don't not necessarily want to stay for the harder questions. They seem to be towards the end. There are 45 questions. Anyway, question number one is asking about three jumping events and athletes. The question about athletes is how many of them are competing in both high jump, right, and triple jump, but are not competing in the long jump. So we cannot use any of that. So if they're competing in both, they're in the area that in between, surrounded by both. So the answer is 3. Okay, let's go ahead. Let me clear all. Remember, you can pause whenever I'm talking too fast or whenever you see that I clear drawings, you can go back. Pause, go back, or replay and whatnot. Okay. Number 2 says there is a function f, which is defined by the equation f equals, or, y equals. Notice that the x is inside here, and the number here is 3, and then there is a plus 1. So let's do f of 3 first by substituting x for 3, and we're going to get f ends up being y. That's equal to 3 squared plus 5. So that's 9 plus 5, which is 14. However, we have a plus 1 at the end of all that. So we add 1, and my answer is 15. That is answer J. I'm not going to keep repeating. I'm going to erase, pause, because it's going to take too long. So you know what's going to happen. I'm going to erase, and then I'm going to scroll up. See the next question. Okay. For number 3, they give us B and C is negative. So B is 40 and C is negative 16. So the question is, what is B plus C? To do that, we need to do exactly that. 40 plus a negative 16, which is the same as 40 minus 16, right? So it's 40 minus 16, which is 24. But that's not the answer. It's not even a choice there. So the product of, so now we need to divide by negative 4, because it is 24 is the product of negative 4 and what number? So when we divide, we're going to get a negative, and 4 goes into 24 6 times. So my answer is B, negative C. All right. Number 4, it takes Colin 24 minutes to walk to school in the morning. What fraction of his 24-hour day is spent walking to school in the morning? So the first thing we need to do is find out how many minutes are in one day. So that would be 60 minutes. That would be 60 minutes times 24 hours. And that's going to be equal to 1440. So that's the number of minutes in the day, and Colin takes 24 out of those daily minutes. So what fraction of his 24-hour day? So 24 minutes in a day, which is a 1440 minutes, so 24. What would be the fraction? I see 144, which is 12 squared, and I see 24. So let's divide by 12. And that's going to give me 2 over 120. Divide both by 2, and that's equal to 1 over 60. Okay, choice G. All right, 5, a certain triangle has interior angle measures, that means 180, right? 6x, 2x, and x. So let's add that, 6x plus 2x plus 1x is equal to 9x is 180. What is the value of 1x? So divide by 9, and x is equal to 20. All right, choice C. All right. Moving right along. We did 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, just like that, but I'm gonna try to cover all 45 questions, but we'll see. You don't have to watch the whole video if you feel comfortable. Okay, so now which of the following matrices is equal to this? All right, so the way we're gonna treat that is like if it was a distributed property, the position does not change. We need to multiply 6 times -5, and that's -30. Let's keep an eye on the answers. Let's do one more. 6 times +3 is 18. All right, so the shortcut is there's only one answer, is J. And of course, it will be 0 and -24. But you already had it before I finished the matrix, because we had 30 and 18 as a double check. Number 7, circle A is shown. You can also pause and read the question yourself. So basically it's saying that this is an area of the circle, right? All right, and this is halfway. And what percent of the circle is enclosed between OCOD in this area? So what percent of the circle? All right, it says A and B are as far apart as possible, so we know that this is the diameter, and this is halfway, so we have 90-degree angles. So that would be half of 90 degrees is this area that they want to find. And that would be 45% of the circle, right? So yeah, 45%. Let me see if that's a choice. Wait a minute. By circle O is enclosed by OC and OD, and minor arc CD. A, B, C, and D. A and B are as far apart. Let me erase. So it says that A and B, that's what happens when you try to rush two. Okay. A and B are as far as possible. C is halfway. So that's my 45, 90, 180, 90 and 90, and D is halfway. So this is half of 45. What percent of the area enclosed by circle O is enclosed by OC, OD, OC, OD? And so I'm doing the percent, I'm not doing, okay. So basically what this is, yeah, I see what my mistake was. The whole circle is 100%, right? So if we take this side, that would be 25%. 25% is a quarter. But we only need what's in between this line and that line. So for that, we need to completely fill that piece. And it's basically half of 25%. I was doing the angles. It is a 45-degree angle, but as far as the percent of the whole pie is 12.5%, not degrees. Sorry, that was my mistake. So you get it. So let's go ahead and clear all the drawings. Let's go back. Yeah, I cannot be rushing too much, but there we have it. All right, A. All right. So an object is launched vertically at 30 meters per second. The whole thing is that we have the equation, so we don't have to interpret it. We already have an equation for it. And it is this one. Okay, and then what will be the height? So that's the height, that's the function. You look at that h. 3 seconds. So t is time, so t is equal to 3, and we simply substitute. So it's negative 4.9 times times 3 to the second power plus 30t, which is 30t is 30 times 3. All right, so plus 90 plus 55. So this is 145 right here. I'm going to write it backwards. That inside is 9 times negative, let's calculate negative 5. And multiplication on parentheses first. So this is about taking away 45 from 145. So it's about 145 minus 45, right? This is all in the same side of the equation, so I don't need to change the sign. It's on the right side of the equation. The equation being ht, h of t, which is 3. So 145 minus 45, I just moved the 45 basically. One to the right, but it's the right side of the equals. So it's about 100. So the answer is G. So I didn't even need to. You have a calculator. I did not even need to be exact because I look at my choices. Always pay attention to the choices. The answer is there. Okay, which of the following expressions is going to be equivalent? So you need to FOIL. If I FOIL negative 2 times positive 2, that's going to be a negative 4x to the second power, and that one doesn't have a negative, so it's not A. Then we have 2 and 2, 4. Okay, the last number is a positive 12, which is either the product of positive 4 times positive 3. You know that my board and my Zoom don't mix. And the other possibility is a negative 4 times a negative 3. Let's see what we have. We have that, so it could be B. We have a negative and a positive there. That's not it. We have a negative and a positive there. That would give us negative 12. So the answer is B. Erasing. I said I wasn't going to announce it, just to announce it right away. Okay, so that's 9 questions. Let's try to do this quickly. Okay, equivalent. Okay, so here's the key. Remember that you have a situation where there's a minus sign. You can think of it as distributing a negative 1, and when you do, what comes after 6x plus 3y, that is this part. Now distribute negative 1 times y, you have a negative 1y, and negative 1 times a negative 2, so negative 1 times negative 2x, that happens to be a positive. 2x, notice the x's, 6 and 2 is 8x, and there's only one question that has it. 3 minus 1 is 2. Only one question has 8. So that was the trick, is that if you have a negative in front, this is going to change to a positive. Very good. Bryce owns an apartment building, and he charges $325 for 1 bedroom and $410 for 2 bedroom. X is the 1 bedroom. And so how many 1 bedroom apartments did he charge for? There's 13 apartments altogether. So let's keep money with the money. So we have 325 x plus 410 y. That's all money. That's going to be equal to the amount of 4905. 4905. And then we have the quantity of apartments, x plus y, because we don't know how many of each, but that's equal to 13. So this is money. This is number of apartments, or the hashtag means number. So, okay, that's a 13, by the way, not a B. Sorry about that. So what I'm going to do is I need to cancel something, and I need to solve for x. So I'm going to multiply this x plus y times negative 410. That way, when I do, I'm going to get a cancellation between this positive 410 and the negative 410. So if I multiply negative 410, I can put it at the end, times everything inside that parenthesis, I'm going to get, and I'm going to write it on top here. So negative 410x minus 410y. That's what I needed. I needed to cancel that. Is equal, I did the calculations, is equal to negative 5330. So I can go ahead and combine these, and I'm going to get negative 85x. When I combine these two, is subtracting and the sign of the bigger number, negative 85x, my y's cancel, is equal to negative 425. Use your calculator to divide a negative by another negative, negative 85, to get the value of x, and you get that x is equal to 5. So the answer is the one bedroom, which is the small number, the one that he charged fewer money for, fewer dollars anyway. So the answer is 5. Let me erase. Let me move up. So again, 12 basically is asking how many people out of the total do like hamburgers. So this is my total altogether, right? And if they like hamburgers, they're gonna be here. It's gonna be all these two numbers that add up to this subtotal, right? So my answer is 195 out of 312. And with a calculator, you get 0.625 as a decimal. Of course, as a percent, you move the decimal point twice to the right, so you get 62.5. And so that will be, the closest number would be 63%. Okay, next one. Okay, so this is 7 and 3. So remember, the quadratic solution is like a binomial that says if x is equal to 7, inside the parentheses we had x minus 7 and x plus 3, because inside the parentheses is the opposite of what x equals to, and that's going to be equal to 0. So now I need to, 0, sorry. I need to FOIL this. This is x squared minus 7x plus 3x which will give me the negative 4x. And finally, negative 7 times 3 is negative 21. So that's that. I should have just multiplied 7 times 3, negative 21, and that would have worked too, because they're different signs. 14, corresponding sides of similar right triangles are on the ratio 4:5. Remember, right triangles are known already to be 3, 4, and the hypotenuse 5. And any multiple thereof. So if I multiply this, all these three numbers times 4, I'm going to get 12, 16, and 20. And it tells me here that 20 is the smaller. So which one of these would correspond to some triangle that is bigger? It's not going to be 9. 21 is not going to be a right triangle like that. So let's multiply this times 5. So this was times 4. Now times 5 is 3 times 5 is 15, 20, and 25. So the answer is J. So you can see already that it's multiples of 5. All right. So I'm trying to move fast, not so fast that you may not understand my explanation, but not you know, these are a lot of questions, so I need to go fast. And sometimes I get caught by going too fast. So the amplitude, okay. So the amplitude is always managed by the first number, the one in front of the cosine, all right? And just so you know, in case you get similar questions, pi is a constant, that's a shift, a horizontal shift. It could be 3, it could be 5, it could be pi. Horizontal shift. And while we're at it, let me explain to you and teach you that 3 becomes the period. How frequent does the line go one cycle? So that's called the period. It's not a point, is, you know, like from beginning to end, like let's say from here all the way down and then all the way that, that's a period. But the amplitude is how low it goes and how high it goes. And so it's 1/2 right there. Very easy. I explained more than what you needed to, but it's in case they ask you about the period or the horizontal shift. So great. All right, 16. Circles are, if it's 3, 4, the equation for the circle is going to be x minus 3 plus y plus 4. So it's the opposite sign of what you have at the center. So this would be x minus 3 squared plus y plus 4. Square is equal to the radius squared. And if the radius is 5, obviously remember the 3, 4, 5, it applies here. That's the coordinate. It passes through the origin. So the center is here and it goes all the way through the origin. So this is, if this was the origin, the point is 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3 to the right and 4 down. 1, 2, 3, 4 down. So we have a 3, 4, and 5 circle. Now that's the graph. Of course, the circle, this is going to be the center here, another 5 this way, and the circle is going to go like a circle, right? And whatnot. But the point is, actually, that should be, okay. The point is that the equation, the radius is 5. Because the hypotenuse here, that's 3 and 4. So 3, 4, 5 makes the hypotenuse, the radius. So because it says r squared is equal to 25. So so let's make this equal to 25. And so that's G. All right. Now look at 63. Let's do that 9 times 7. So we're going to break it into 9 and 7. So maybe the answer is ending in 7. The square root of 9 is 3. So 3 radical 7 plus 175. If you had quarters and you had 175 in quarters, it's 7 quarters. So that would be the square root of 25 times the square root of 7. So that's 3 radical 7 plus 5, because that's the square root of 25 is 5. Radical 7. And 3 plus 5 is 8. So far, subtotal is 8 radical 7. We can see that 60 is too much because that number is smaller than that. So it has to be smaller than 5 radical 7. So it's probably 4. So 8 plus 4 is 12 radical 7. You can see that this is too big. So C is your answer. Very good. Erasing. And kind of like writing again. So that was 17. We're not going as fast as I would like to. So maybe I won't explain what's not necessary. Okay, the sum of 3 positive integers is 180. And the ratio is 5 to 3 to 2. What is the value of the smallest of the integers? So we basically need to do 5x I thought I was, okay. 5x plus 3x plus 2x is equal to 180. That's 10x is equal to 18. Stop, be careful, it's not that because the smallest ratio is 2. The ratio is 2x. So 2x, sorry, 10x is equal to 180, so x is equal to 18. Sorry about that. So 2 times x is equal to 18 times 2, which is 36. G is your answer. Jeremy reaches a box into the closet. The box contains 10 gloves, and he picks one at random. 5 matching pairs means that that there are 5 different pairs. So let's go by color. Let's say that inside you have the gloves, and then you have like the color purple, and you have a purple, then you have a red, and then you have a red, and then you have a yellow, and you have a yellow, then you have a white, then you have a white, and then maybe brown and brown. So you pick one at random. Let's say you pick one of the red ones. So let me take it out, and now the R is outside. What is the probability that you pick the second one and it's a matching pair? The only thing that matches R is this one R. So that's 1R out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 1 out of 9 would be the probability of getting a matching pair, which is answer A. Awesome. Erase. Move on. Okay, read the problem at your own time. I can't afford to read it. Basically, when would a customer get both prices if one is going by 24th, so it's a product of 4th, 24 and 60. You need to find least common multiple. You can look that up. But of course, let me see. Okay, so the least common multiple of 24 and 60, I'm not gonna do it the long way. It's basically you end up to 120 and 120. That means that if you add another 120, you get 240. Then you get multiples of 12, 36 and 48. Whenever the 24th person and the 60th person match, is going to be at the 120 and every multiple thereof. So it's going to be one person, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is your answer. Okay, 3 books for a rating of 10. The way to do that is the value. Okay, so the rating is different. So you have 3 times 10 or 30. You have 5 times 100 or 500. And then you get 2 with a rating of 70. 2 with a rating of 70 is 140. When you add this up and you add the books, you have 10 books with different ratings, and the ratings add up to 670. So if you were to divide 10 books is equal to 670 divided by 10 by canceling a 0, and so it's 67. So an average of 67, that would be your answer C. Okay. Erase, erase, clear. Okay, this one says that you start with, okay, let me see. you start with the first term is -10, so that's your series. The second term is 1, and each term is obtained by the adding of the two immediately preceding terms. So I need to add -10 plus 1. That's going to be -9. Then the next term is adding this 2, so 1 and -9 is -8. So that's term 1, 2, 3, and this is the numbers. 4, they're asking for the fifth term. So I need to add this 2, -9 and -8, which is -17 when we add them. Your answer is G. Over here, the best thing to do, we're looking for the value of y. So we already have 6y here, and let's substitute this x for what x is. This is x, because it says here that is equal to x. So I'm writing this equation as 2 times x, which is -4y minus 3 equals 6y. So I have -8y distributing, right? Plus 6 equals 6y. I'm going to add 8y here, and I'm going to add 8y there. So we have -8, 2x. Oh, why did I get the plus 6 from? Is equal to 6y, 4y plus 6. So that's the 2x. And I forget a little detail. There's a minus 22 right there. So minus 22. We haven't lost anything. So we have -8y that goes to the right. So this is canceled. And we have the positive 6 minus 22. Except that this is -6, right? 2 times -3 is -6. My bad. Just because I'm doing it without space. So -6 and -22 is going to be -28. -28. Sorry about the space. -28. So clearing this up, 8 and 6 is 14. 14y is equal to -28. If you go over, you'll get it. It's a -6. I forgot the -22 from my equation. So y is equal to -2 because we have to divide by a positive 14 to cancel that. So y is equal to -2. Sorry about, I should have brought it up, but if I do, I'm going to waste a lot of time. So -2 is your answer right here. B clearly is one of the answers. Clearly your answer is one of your choices. All right, let's continue. All right, which one is which? Let's just grab a point here. This is x, and the bottom number is y. So x and y. So let's try to see if this means y. They all mean y. So let's try to see if -2 times the value of x minus 8 for f is equal to y, which is, all right, the value of y here is 10, and the value of x here is 3. -2 times 3 is -6 minus 8. That's not going to give us 10. Let's try g. G -3 minus 8 is not going to give us that. X squared would be 9 minus 8. -3 squared for h. -3 squared my plus 2 is 9 plus 2, that's 11. So it has to be, unfortunately, the last one. So 3 squared times 2, which is 2 times 9, minus 8, which is 2 times 9 is 18, minus 8 is 10. So finally we get 3 and 10. So that works. So my answer is J. Okay. So isosceles, the vertex is the top. Is 40 because we have 180 divided by these two equals 180 minus 40 is 140 divided by 2 is 70 each. So the measure of A, not both, one each 70. Okay, let me erase. Okay, let me see if I don't make a mistake with this circle. But even with the mistakes, we're moving along. Okay. So there's an equilateral triangle, which means that it's cutting this in equal parts. And the whole circumference is 360 going around. So 360, but they want to know only one of the arcs, BC. So only this part of the circumference, which is divided in 3. So 360 divided by 3 is 120. All right. Erasing, clearing, moving along. All right, we're good. 27, a scale model. All right. So the best thing to do with the points is to kind of put them where they belong. 4, 7 would be 4 for X on the quadrant 1 and 7 for Y. Let me see where the other 7 is. Okay, so that's negative 2, 7. That's the same height 7 for Y, right? Remember Y and X. So then I have to have another negative 2 here. Negative 2 with negative 3. And that means that here I must have a 4 to be a rectangle. Where's the other one? 4, negative 3, of course, because it's the same height at negative 3. That's 7. And for the x goes from negative 2 all the way to 7. So 4 for x and negative 3 for y. Okay, so they want to know dimensions of the rectangle. So to go from negative 2 to 7, I need to travel 1, 2, 1, 2, and then 7 more, so that's 9. And let's see, 4, 7. It's actually 4, from negative 2 to 4. Okay, so x to x, sorry, x to x, negative 2, 7. So from x to x, negative 2 to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 2 to 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it is 6. And then here, the height is 7. So height to height, 7 all the way down to 0. That would be 7 units, but I don't stop there. I go 3 more, negative 1, negative 2, and negative 3. So 7 and 3 more, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's a 6 by 10, and the area is 60 units squared. All right. 60. All right. All right, so what happens when we have a transformation? This is f of x, whatever that means, quadratic going down or whatnot. And then at the end, we just simply subtract 4. When we subtract 4, that means that this point right here goes for down. 1, 2, 3, 4. and the graph stays the same, but it's 4 units down. So it's not stretched. It's simply shifted downward. It's being shifted downwards by 4 coordinate units. All right, great. Let me erase. So that's easy with the -4. Let's do 29. Okay, we have the height right here. The height. And we have an angle here, angle 40. Opposite the angle 40 is the height. So opposite over the one that connects the angle to the right angle is the adjacent. Opposite over adjacent is the tangent of 40 degrees, right? So they're asking, what is the height equal to? So height is the opposite over adjacent. Let me look at my notes. So the opposite is also the height. So height is equal to the tangent of 40. Let me see. So this could be h. The adjacent is 18. So we replace that, and that's equal to the tangent of 40. So to solve for h, the height, I need to get rid of this denominator by multiplying times 18, and by multiplying that times 18. So that cancels with that, and I get the h is equal to 18 times the tangent of 40. All right. So basically, it was substituting what the opposite is. The angle is the tangent, means height over 18. So this over 18 on the other side of the equal sign goes to multiply, goes on top. So it's 18 times 40. Okay. So rusty with my geometry apparently. But yeah. But that's how you do it. That's the right answer. That I can tell you. Okay, so what's going on? Okay. Okay, number 30. That's not bad. We're not doing bad. Okay. They want to know the square root of 8. So remember 4 times 2. This means equal to 2, radical 2. Radical 2 is about 1.4. So 2 times 1.4 is about 2.8. Now, we have from 0 to 8, but these are not ones, divided by 6. So 8 divided by 6 is 8 divided by 6 is the same thing as 4 divided by 3, which is 1.33, because there are no already numbers from 0 to 8. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each space here is 1.33. That means that over here at B is about 267. And if we want 2.8, it has to be right here, something between B and C. I see my answer right there. Remember, take the easy questions and don't break your head. If you don't know this, you don't know this. But I'm trying to give you like as many questions as possible, because some of you may remember, some of you will know, some of you will not, depending on what it is. Okay, number 31, you don't have to do any math. This one, thanks to Ms. Moser for checking with the probabilities. Okay, so Dion flies his kite. He can fly his kite on days with wind. So he does fly it, but he does not fly it every day. Okay, so what's the probability of is windy and he flies the kite. So 0 would be he never flies the kite, which defies what it's saying there. 1.5 is beyond 1, so there's never the maximum number of a probability is equal to 1. But that would mean that he would always fly his kite, but it says he does not fly his kite on every day, does not. So cannot be 1 either. So the only possible answer is 0.5. Typical ACT, I don't like it, but just have to remember that 0 is never, ever, 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 and 1 is always, always, always. Whether he doesn't do it or does do it, whether it's wind or no wind, so it's not gonna be 1, it's not gonna be 0. All right. So what happens here? What is this equivalent to? I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to factor this thing on the top. Let me factor, let's see, a negative 3x. And that's gonna leave me with x squared. Let me see, x squared minus 4. Yeah. So it's negative 3x, still continuing, negative, that's only the top, negative 3x times x plus 2. Difference of squares, this is called, s minus 2. Here I need 2 multiples of 6 that give me a negative 1. So that's going to be negative 3 and positive 2. Because when I add them, they're going to be equal. Let me add them. They're going to be equal to negative 1x. And then when I multiply them, it's going to give me negative 6. Assuming, of course, that I took an x out. So on the bottom, let's take an x out. And we are left with x squared minus 1x minus 6. So furthermore, that's going to be equal to x. And then I got my two numbers, x minus 3 and x plus 2. Let's cancel what's on the top and bottom. That cancels with that. This cancels with that. So we get x minus 3 as the denominator. I would say just go here and move on. But how do we get the 6 minus 3 x? Because negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. And then negative 3 times x is negative 3x over what was left on the bottom, x minus 3. Great. If you love factoring, which I do, but you know, again, like I said, after question 30, these questions are not going to be greatest or slowest, but here we go. I'm trying to cover as many questions. If you remember, you will know. Okay. So the roots of a polynomial are 0, 2, and negative 5. Once again, this is not going to be complicated at all because that means that one of the factors was x. So let's do x. And then when you have 2, remember how that is x equals 2. This is x equals 0. X equals 2 means x minus 2 because all of that's going to equal 0. So when we solve, we need to add 2. So anyway, and negative 5 means x plus 5. Do we have such a thing in here? X minus 2. Only 1. Okay. Next. All right, 34. Well, you know what? There's no sense on postponing this. So let me cross multiply. So we have like that. So we have 5 times x plus y over equal, 8 times 3x minus y. So we have 5x distributing, right? Plus 5y is equal to 24x minus 8y. We want to know what y over x is. So let's go ahead and take away 24x. Okay. over here, we're going to add the AY here and the 8Y there. That's gonna leave me with, and then let me do it at once because otherwise it's take too. Let me subtract 5x from both sides, and I get that 13y is equal to 24 minus 5x, negative 5x. All right. Let's divide by negative 5x and by negative 5x. Sorry, 19. 24 minus 5 is 19. What am I doing? Russian? That's what I'm doing. And then I don't take the eraser. So it's negative 19 x. All right. So let's divide by negative 19. Divide by negative 19. And so I have that 13y over negative 19 is equal to x, but we want to know x over y. So if I want a y on the bottom, let's divide this side. Let me do it in another color. Okay. Now let's divide this side by y. And let's divide this side by y. That cancels. So x is going to be equal to 13 over 19 negative. Or somehow I missed the sign. Oh yeah, this is positive, sorry. 24 positive minus 5 is positive 19. No worries, 13 over 19 is the answer. Let's see what happens when you're rushing. You can only rush so much. All right, here we go. 35, the slope. Okay, thank God, so the y-intercept, we need to solve for y, which means we need to subtract 3x on both sides of this equation, cancels. So we get 2y is equal to negative 3x. True is plus 5. And in the other case, subtract negative 6x on both sides, and we're going to cancel that, and we're going to get that 4y is equal to negative 6x. True that it is plus 7, but we don't care. We just care about the slope, which is divided by 2, divided by 2, divided by 4, divided by 4. So we get negative 3 over 2, and it's equal to negative 6 over 4. Because you can divide this by 2 and you get negative 3 over 2. Or let's cross multiply and see if they're equal. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Is that equal to 2 times negative 6? Yes, is negative 12. So they are the same slope, A. All right? Now this one, piecewise functions, let's start from the inside out. G of negative 1. Negative 1 is included equal here. So I have to use this for negative 1. So I'm going to put a negative 1 inside the absolute value bars, plus 7. And I know that this always comes as a positive because it's distance, and distance cannot be negative. So 1 plus 7 is equal to 8. Now that I have 8, let me use f. F of 8. F of 8, and where is 8? Is over here. 1 minus 8. Okay, so 1 minus 8, f of x, when x is greater than 0, positive number 8, f of x is equal to 1 minus 8, which is negative 7. Great. All right, so we're on the final, I don't want to say, but I almost want to say you probably are better off with the CLT, and out of the CLT turns. But who's to say? Some people do not pass the CLT and pass the ACT. Okay, so we're looking here for how they do, how we do solutions. All right. So again, I'm gonna plug in this -2, -1, and hopefully that it comes out here. So 4, remember that's y, that's x, and this is y equals. So y equals 4x plus 7. I'm gonna take the value of this y. So -1 is equal to 4 times x, which is -2, plus 7. So -1 is equal to -8 plus 7. That is true, so it works for that, but will it work on that? So that's -2 times the value of x. That's -2 from that equation times the value of x, which is another -2 raised to the second power, plus 11x, x being still -2, 11 times -2, plus 1. So this takes too long, but this is +4 times -2, which is -8. 11 times -2 is -22, plus 1 is -29. That's not the same as y. So let's move on to the next point. 4 times 1.5. 4 times 1.5, that's a 1, is equal to 6. And then 6 plus 7 is 13. So B is working. And I'm not going to do the math. This will not work because 4 times 2 is plus 7 is not that number. And 4 times 13 plus 7 is all positive. It's not going to be that one. So B is your answer. I'm not going to do the math for that because I don't want the video to be 3 hours. All right, so. All right. So cities. So the number of cities is 3. I'm tired of the blue. 3 was voted by 50 people, so there are 3, 3, 3, 3, and so on. 2 cities voted by 40 people, and then 1 city voted by 10 people. So that's going to be equal to 150 plus 80 plus 10. And cities 3 and 2 is 1 and 1. Let me see. So 150 and 80 and 10. This is the city, number of cities. We don't know because it's 150 that they say 3. So let's add this up. That's equal to 240. And what is the weight of the cities? The weight of the cities is 50 plus 40 plus 10. That's going to be the mean number of cities toured. So yeah, it's 50 because this gives me 150. So 50, 40, and 10 is 100. Right? So the weight of people were 100, giving an approximate number of cities at 240. So dividing by 100, so 100C, 100C is equal to 240, obviously, and so divided by 100, 2.4. Is that an answer? Okay. Yeah. Adding 3, 2, and 1, 6, divided by 240 is too small of a number. So 24 to 40, 0.24 would be 1. Yeah, it doesn't, there's no answer for that. So it has to be the 100. Okay, great. So clear all drawings. I was doubting myself a little bit after I worked these problems. At least I'm gonna say 4 times with the help of other teachers, of course. Okay, so given that I is an imaginary unit, which of the following numbers is equal to 7 plus 4i to the second power? Now remember, to the second power simply means that we're going to FOIL. To the second power means we need 2 parentheses. Which means we're gonna have 2 middle terms. 7 times 4 is 28i. It's all positive. And 7 times 4, inner outer, is also 28i. So in the middle, we're always going to have 28 and 28 is 56i. And they don't cancel because you know the other one is going to be I squared and whatnot. So I only see one answer that has the 56i. Has to be that one. No doubt. Because the other one becomes I squared, which is a whole other thing. So the product of two complex numbers, a complex number is like this, is part rational, part imaginary. It's a real number. So when you multiply two of things like that, you're gonna get a real number that is irrational. So it will not have an I because the i's can be eliminated. And it is a real number, so which cannot be true. Okay, so both x and y are rational. That's the key right there. If x is rational and you multiply it times rational times y, which is also rational, when you multiply two rational numbers, you always are going to get xy, by definition, by law, is always rational. And the one that they get is irrational. So it cannot be f. Both x and y are imaginary. Maybe the product of x and y is radical 2. Definitely that's possible. The product of x and y is negative. Yeah, all you have is one of them to be negative for your product to be negative. Okay, so the one that cannot be is f. Okay. Okay, so 3, let's divide this by 3. And we get that cancels that e to the x is equal to 4. The inverse operation of e to the n is a natural log called ln, but when we write the inverse, the 4 goes inside because it's going to be equal to x. So ln of 4 is equal to the exponent, which is the x. So the only choice I see here that makes sense is that one. That would be the solution because x is the solution. So this is equal to x. Very good. So you just needed to know what the inverse operation of e to the x is ln, just as a power of 10. The opposite would be the logarithm log, but I'm not gonna write it because I'm already like ready to erase and move. All right, 5 questions to go. Thank you for your 4 questions to go. Okay, so circumference is what? The formula for the circumference is 2 times pi times r. I noticed that all the questions end in pi, so I'm going to move pi at the end because I can use commutative property to switch. So this is 2 times r, pi, and pi is at the end. Now the radius is 10, that's r. R is 10, so 2 times 10 is 20 pi. Now 20 pi is the whole circumference. They want to know arc. Notice this is half and this is a quarter. They want to know arc AB, which is a quarter of the circumference. Divide by 4 to get a quarter, right? If you divide $1 by 4, you're going to get 25 cents or a quarter. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. And of course, pi was always the answer. Your answer is J, 43 Speed. Okay, speed is distance over time. Distance over time equal distance over time. So Sam took X minutes, so whatever minutes that is, from home to work, but returning home, it took Sam Y minutes. On the way home, his average speed was 2 times his average speed on the way to work. Okay, which of the following question gives Y in terms of X? So he was coming faster, which means that X took longer minutes. So Y has to be less number of minutes because he did it faster than Y. So in this case, let me see, my choices are, yeah, my choices are, okay. So X is greater than Y. For X to be equal than Y, I need to make X smaller, right? I would need to make it smaller. So for this to be equal, I'm not gonna put 2X because that would make even more minutes. So let's say this X was 10 minutes, so D over 10. And so the other one is, this distance is the same. This one is less than 10, which is 5. If I put 2Y, that's gonna be 20. I need to do the opposite. I need to make the 10 smaller by dividing by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So I think we have our answer right here. All right, let me erase. It's just a matter of thinking, which the SAT makes you do, right? So if one is faster, it actually means that it took fewer minutes, and so on and so forth. Right? So you can do what I did. I use 5 and 10 because it's always easier when we have like real numbers as opposed to just concepts. Okay, so the coordinate, they want to know ellipse. To get an ellipse, we're gonna get this positive. To get an ellipse that goes like this, we're gonna get the positive number here and the positive number there, and we're gonna add it. So this would be x squared over 9 plus, to be an ellipse, y2 over, these are called hyperbolas, right? Kind of like the dish, DirecTV used to be, over 9, and this is y over 2 over 36. That's going to be obviously equal to 1. Where is it? Is it number 1? Oh, F. Okay. Let me see. Positive, positive, plus. Yeah, okay. So that's F. Let me erase. One more question and we did it. Hopefully you didn't see it all at once. Okay. All right. Inverse function, we need to switch x and y. So what is y? F of x is y. Inverse, x becomes y, and y becomes x. So that now y is here in place of x, and x is here in place of y. So this is y. And what is y equal to? Y, that means inverse function, right? The inverse function. So f of x or y is equal to the cube root of 3 times the, under the radical, this is quantity 2x minus 1, goes all the way to the 1. Okay, so first let's get rid of that radical, because we can, otherwise we cannot solve or switch anything. So to get rid of this, I need to do the opposite of the square root, which is to square it. Sorry, not square, this is cubic root. The opposite of a cubic root is to raise it to the third power. So I'm gonna raise that to the third power. That's why that number is there. and I'm gonna raise y to the third power. So this whole thing cancels with that. So I have y to the third power is equal to 2x minus 1. Now let's switch. Okay, great. Now let's switch. This has become my y, and x is going to be to the third power. Okay, so let's solve for y. Let's add 1 here, and let's add 1 there. You can see which one it is already. It's going to be C. Don't waste any more time, but I need to finish this. So x to the third power plus 1 is equal to, divide by 2 is equal to y. So the function f inverse x, that becomes the new y. That becomes the new y. So it's equal to that, which is C. All right, thank you very much. I hope this helps. And good luck. And I want everybody to graduate and pass that math exam this year. Mr. Serrano, at your service. If you have any questions, come see me to my classroom 1337. Thank you very, very much. Pause and stop.